Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Dsgnsbyrc, and today I'm bringing you guys a tutorial or a layer breakdown on this design I made myself. So yeah, let's get straight to it. Okay, so for the first part of the design that I did here was the background. The background is fairly easy. What you will want to do is, okay, let's do that real quick. So we're gonna create a new layer. Go to color fill. Let's add a bit of a blue or whatever color you're gonna use for your design. So for me, I added a bit of a blue here. Okay, so next is I got a brush, a pretty big soft brush, hardness all the way down, flow to around 4, or from like 10 to 4. And I grabbed that same blue color that I used and I just made it dark, make it not super dark, but around here in the middle. Press OK, and then we're gonna brush in right over here. Don't do too much, because yeah, just do a little bit on this side, on this right side right here. Okay, so next we're gonna use a brighter blue. So I'm gonna just use that same tone of blue, just move the little cursor over until it's like a tone of just a lot brighter. Press OK, and then for this toner, for this lighter tone, we're gonna hit this corner up here, just a little edge, just a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, now we're gonna go back with that same color, with that same first tone of blue, and then we're gonna lighten up some of this parts right here. They shouldn't be that dark. So press OK right here, brighten that up a little bit. Okay, now down here, what we're gonna do is just draw right here, just straight. Don't do too much, but just we're gonna make like a little ground with this. So just make this bottom part right here brighter. Okay, alrighty. So for the next part of the background, what you want to do is add another layer, and that same thing you did with this bright color, do that. Just paint right here, paint in the corner. We're gonna make this corner brighter, and this, just make sure this right side is dark and the left side is bright. And to finish off that background, we're gonna go ahead and go to camera raw filter. We will go down to effects, go to grain, and bump your grain to around 25. Yeah, around 25 seems good to me. So yeah, just a little bit of grain. Don't do too much, if not it just looks a little weird. But yeah, around 25 looks good to me right there. Okay, so for the next part, we're gonna add the player's number. So for this tutorial, I will be using Anthony Richardson. So I'm gonna add the number 5 to him. So bring out your text, your type tool, and make a big number. So for this font, I'm using a font called Amador Gothic. You could probably find it on Google. I found all my stuff for free on Google. If I can, I'll try to leave it down in the description if you need this font, but you can use whatever font you want. Just make sure you just make sure you make it big. Okay, so after that, we will go down and add the player's name down here, right under that number. Just put it right here. That right there looks good. I think I use the same. Yeah, I use the same font. It's called Amador Gothic again. I will try to leave it down in the description so you can download that font. Just add your player's name, and yeah. Next part, we're gonna bring in our player. We're gonna bring in for my example, for my design, I added this Anthony Richardson swap. that I made. Just a really quick and easy swap I did. If you want to learn how to do a swap, a jersey swap, you can go down to my channel and watch this other video where I show you how to do a jersey swap. But if not, you can use whatever player that's currently in the league. And yeah, for the next part, we're gonna add some shadows to the player's feet. So for that, just go under the layer of your player, add another layer, go to your brush, and then we're gonna do again around 4. We're gonna do around a, I don't know, around 100 size, and then on this circle up here, press on one of these circles and just squish it down. Squish it down, and yeah. So we're gonna make that decent bit bigger for his feet. And make sure hardness is at 0. Okay, so for that, we're gonna go ahead and add some shadows right under the feet. Just paint in, don't do too much, because if not, it just becomes too intense and then it just doesn't look realistic. Add a little bit of shadows. If you overdo it, we're gonna fix that in just a little bit. So add shadows on the bottom of both feet, and then make your brush bigger, and add just a big shadow, just one. Just do like 2 clicks. Don't do too much again, because that overdoes it. Do like 1. Actually, not more than 2. Just do like somewhere around there. Not too crazy. So if you don't like the way it turned out, you can just go down to your fill and then just lower down your fill. If it's too much, you can lower down your fill, and yeah, that right there is good. So now for the player. What I started off by doing is I added first an exposure layer. Since this part of the graphic is a lot darker, I darkened this side of him up. So just get your brush, invert your mask, and lower down your exposure. And then don't overdo it again. Don't do too much. Just do it on just the little edges where you see that the light doesn't hit as much as other places. Right now for the next part, I decided to add some shadows to the feet, because the feet shouldn't be super bright. So the same thing I did, just open up another layer right here. Just go down to the half circle, exposure, lower down your exposure, and then press Command I or Control I, and then that inverts your mask, and then you can go back and then just paint in with your brush, just like this. Just paint in, add shadows to the feet, just on top of that feet. And then I added a bit of color balance, so it makes it fit in with the area, with the blue area that it's in, that the player is in. So to do color balance, you also go to the half circle right here, and then you go in between hue and saturation and black and white, and then it's right there. I gave it a bit of a blue tint. I went to midtones and just did a bit of a blue tint. So just mess around with it until you think it looks good. Obviously, if you're using a different color, you would try to match it to whatever color you're using. So if you're doing a red, you would try to match it to a red. And yeah, for that next layer, we're gonna add some highlights. So again, add another exposure layer. Go to exposure, add another exposure layer, bring up your exposure, not too much, but a decent bit. And then for highlights, what I like to do for my highlights is, you see where the light, where you can see the light bouncing off. So right here, and then there's some light right here that bounces off. Light that bounces off his nose, his cheekbone, his hand right here, his forearm, and right here where the creases are. As you can see in the creases, there's light that bounces off right here and right here, right here. There's a lot of places where light bounces off. So what I did is I just went in with that brush, with that high exposure brush, low flow. Yeah, it's just low flow. Do like 4 flow, 0 hardness, and a decent sized brush for your creases, and then just go in and brighten up those creases and those edges up a little bit, not too much, because we're gonna add some more in just a little bit. The next part, I added even more highlights. As I said, we're gonna add more, but this time we're gonna use a brightness and contrast layer. So again, half circle, go right here where it says brightness / contrast. Don't mess with contrast. Bring up your brightness to around 70. Again, use a 0 hardness brush, and then in low flow. And then again on the edges and where you see the light that bounces off the player, just paint in. As you can see right here, you can just paint in. I just paint in where I see where the light bounces off the most. Okay, so for the next layer, we are going to add some shadows. Since this part of the design is darker, we're gonna go ahead and add some shadows to the player. So we added a levels adjustment. So go to your half circle, go to levels. Okay, to make it darker, all I did was move this left point over a little bit, not too much. As you can see right here, I put it around that 25 mark, and then I moved in this white thing, this white little cursor. So yeah, you want to paint in just this side, just of the player on this side of him. And for the next part of the design, I added a hue and saturation adjustment layer. So again, hue and saturation is going to be in that half circle right under vibrance. I added a blue tint to the player. So for this one, I didn't just leave it on there like that. I actually painted in. So what I did was, again, just go here, and then I press colorize, and then try to match that blue. Bring up the saturation up, match that blue a little bit. Yep. And then I press Command I to invert the mask. And then this one, this one can be overdone pretty easily, so don't do too much again with this. Just go in with your brush and just brush in right here. Just brush in where the light is bouncing off. Whenever when we made this this top part brighter, we're gonna make just this side blue. Not too much on this right side, but more on this left side. You're gonna want to paint him like that. Okay, so for the final layer of the player, I added even more highlights. So I saw some areas that I thought needed highlights. For example, I added some right here on the shoe because there's light bouncing off from this side, and also added some on the knee right here and behind that leg. On this, again, I think I added more on the creases. I actually added more right here towards this area of the player. I added some highlights right there, some highlights where his bicep is at, because that's where the light is going to be bouncing off from. I added some definition right here to the muscle. To end off the design, the final thing you're going to want to do is just create a new layer. Go to image, apply image, press OK. We're going to add some camera raw filter. So go to filter, camera raw filter. I'm going to go to color, browse. We're going to see what looks best out of all of these. Pick out your favorite, whatever looks best to you. You know, it's all up to preference. But for me, I think I added a modern 4. I just lowered down the intensity on this because it's too saturated. I put it around 40. I went back, and then we're gonna go right here to basic, and then just mess around with these I just put the exposure a little bit, bringing down the contrast. Highlights, bring them up a little bit. Bring down the shadows. Whites, bring them up a little bit. Blacks, bring them down. Texture, bring it up. Clarity, bring it up. The vibrance, leave it the same. And we're gonna add a little bit more of grain, so I'll go back to the effects, to this effects tab, and then add some grain to it. Don't do too much again. Do around 15. Yep, around 15 looks good to me. And yeah, that right there looks good. Press OK. And yeah, adds just a little more intensity to the whole composition. So yeah, that is going to be it for this design. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you have any questions, make sure to comment them down below, and if not, you can also DM me on Instagram if you have any other specific questions about the design or anything. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, and God bless you all.